When Jesus taught his disciples to pray, he gave them these familiar words: "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." Those words acknowledge something obvious. Heaven's order is not yet established on earth. The prayer itself is a petition for God to bring that reality into this world. What we see instead is a world in the grip of a beast system, a structure of power that thrives on fear, division, and ignorance. It keeps humanity spiritually enslaved, blind to its own dignity, and blind to God's purpose. And here's a truth some will recognize and others resist. The beast system has been upheld by the very religions that claim to serve God. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Bahá'í, though rooted in revelation, have been twisted into tools of control. They became institutions of ritual and blind belief, binding people to false authorities instead of to the living God. Rather than raising a faithful people, they've produced spiritually weak subjects, ready to serve the beast. But God's plan has never changed. From the beginning, he offered humanity a bridge to his kingdom, the covenant. Every prophet pointed to this bridge because it's the only path to freedom. That's why Jesus was sent by God, not as a worldly king or a warrior with a sword, but as a high priest or great educator, whose mission was to raise up a people who understood the covenant and were prepared for his kingdom. But Scripture tells us that his mission would not end there. Prophecy promised he would return, not with some kind of spectacle in the sky, but to continue his role as the great educator. And this is where people stumble, because when they hear the phrase, the return of Jesus, they imagine clouds, trumpets, and a heavenly host. But that vision belongs to Renaissance paintings and the vain imaginations of some clergy. Jesus was rejected on his first coming because his reality was different from what most people were expecting. To recognize fulfillment, we have to look with spiritual eyes. Prophecy speaks in symbols, and symbols require us to think in the abstract, to move beyond the literal surface and see the meaning embedded within. Without that kind of vision, people mistake the outward for the inward, and they miss the very reality standing before them. Fulfillment rarely comes dressed in outward power and splendor. God tends to choose humble servants for extraordinary roles in his unfolding plan. And in our day, the return of Jesus the high priest has been fulfilled in the mission of an ordinary man, Dr. Leland Jensen. Now, that statement will raise eyebrows. It will cause resistance. People will cry cult and false prophet. But it follows the same pattern prophecy has always followed. The world did not recognize Jesus 2,000 years ago. Why expect it to be different now? Dr. Jensen's mission was to carry forward what Jesus began, to teach those people with eyes to see and ears to hear the meaning of the kingdom and the covenant. He opened the scriptures, clarified prophecy, and showed that salvation does not come through ritual or blind belief, but through knowledge rooted in a love for the truth. Knowledge that prepares us for God's righteous world order. The beast system may look powerful, but it is built on sand. God has already secured victory by sending the return of the high priest. The only question is whether you will cross the bridge of the covenant. The beast will fall, God's kingdom will rise, and the will of God shall be done on earth as it is in heaven. Learn more at schooloftheland.com, where you will receive the education of the high priest.